Now we're live.
I believe we are. Can you see? Are we live?
I can see it in our upper corner, yes.
That's so cute. That's great. Well, welcome everybody. I am Kate Blake. I am the founder of Revolution from Within, and I am delighted and so excited to interview today to share with you everything. One of my favorite clients, Nina Zemis, is how you pronounce your last name, which is a little funny spelling on it, but it's anyway, point being, what we're going to do today is just walk through what it was like to do work together and what Nina got from it and how she may have shifted over the last few short months. So I want to welcome you, Nina. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Kate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's just go ahead and jump right in. Why don't you give us a quick overview of where you are in life, what you do for work, what life, like how full your life has been and is, and where you're at right now.
Sure, yeah. So I've been in San Francisco for almost 4 years now. I'm in my early 30s and my life is overflowing most days. I work in sports medicine and rehab, and I'm a certified athletic trainer. So most of my patients are in pain or desperate to get back to sports or just stuck a lot of the time. So I try and give them everything I have. I'm working in a small startup that supports mostly women. We've got a full team of 5 women and 1 male intern who we adore. But I've kind of built this company from the ground up with our founder, and it's a huge passion, but it's a huge weight as well. So when I first found Kate, I was kind of underwater. That's the phrase that I use most often to describe where I was at. So.
Great. Can you tell us a little bit more? What do you, actually, before we get into those details, can you give us just a quick overview of what you get from the program? What were the big chunks or the pieces or the shifts that you said you would say that you made in your life, or the things that are more lasting?
I think the simplest way to put it is that I got me out of our work together. That suddenly I was giving myself the same advice and doing the same work that I was encouraging all of my clients to do. I was taking care of myself and looking at why I was in pain and why I wasn't sleeping and why I was stressed out and trying to change those things. And I know how to do that from an injury perspective, but I didn't know how to do it as well from my own life management perspective. So that's really what our work together gave me.
And would you say that, because it's been a few months now since we worked together, have those been sustainable for you?
Yes, it's still work. It's still something that I have to put effort into every single day, where I have to choose me and choose to take care of me. And one of the phrases that we worked on together was saying no from a place of compassion and caring. And that's kind of my current motto. That I have to say no a lot in order to be able to keep doing what it is that I'm doing and keep taking care of everybody that I feel like I'm responsible for. So yes, it is sticking, but with a lot of conscious effort.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I found with this kind of work, and any work that's really about how do you change your life in a meaningful way, these aren't tools that you use for a few days or a few weeks in order for things to shift. These are things that you start to actually implement into your life so that you have the space and the quality of time and really the lived experience that you're wanting to have and that you deserve to have. And part of that means really it's sort of rewiring that brain stem, or the framework that we use that basically is how we default to what's right or wrong, what's good or bad, what we should or shouldn't do. And so it just gives you a new framework to work on. And can I ask, I know it has been a few months, it's just been a short few months, but is it easier to remember to use these tools to make choices from a different framework?
Absolutely. It does get easier and easier. Because you get to see the impact of it. You get to see why you want to make this choice and why this choice is actually going to help you meet your bigger goals. In the heat of the moment, or while deadlines are looming, sometimes I forget. But then I'm able to look back and reflect and be able to pinpoint exactly where I could have made a different choice and how that would have helped me a little bit more. So yes, it definitely gets easier.
Yeah, and I think, rather than seeing that as, oh, I've fell back or old patterns, or, oh, this is a way that I'm not doing it right or good, to really remember that it's the refractory time of how long it is shortened dramatically of how long it takes you to catch yourself and to go, oh, hold
Sure.
on, wait, this is the old way. This isn't how we do it anymore.
Yeah, exactly. And there's always new challenges, right? That I might get really good at anticipating one thing from one client, and then I get a new client and I have to relearn how to apply those tools to that person. So,
Good,
yeah.
great. Well, tell us a little bit more about when underwater. Give us a few more details about what that looked like.
Yeah, so there's someone trying to get into the office that I'm in right now. Uh, I think they'll be okay. But when I'm underwater, I keep saying yes and I keep taking on more and more things, and I'm not able to do any of the things. And then I get upset with myself because I'm not able to do the things, and I feel like I'm letting people down. And it's just this spiral that I feel like I'm just going farther and farther down. So.
Yeah, I actually went back and found your notes that I took from
Oh,
pretty funny, right? And you had said, can I share? Is this okay?
absolutely. Yeah.
That you are just a really go get it, go do it. I can do it all. I can fix it. I can do anything. I'm wearing several hats. I'm probably doing, two major functions in organization. But I'm filled with anxiety. I'm working 15 to 16-hour days. I feel pretty anxiety filled and overwhelmed. There's just a lot of roadblocks that are getting in my way in terms of where I'm wanting flow. And then you talked about your personal life and what you were wanting in that area. But does that sound familiar?
That sounds familiar. Yeah.
Yeah, and your back was flaring up, old back injuries, and you were worried about ulcers. So your physically things were showing up as well, right?
Yeah, my body was screaming for help. That it was the back pain that you're talking about. I was getting stomach ulcers. I was always sick. It felt like I couldn't win because I was never giving myself time to recover.
Yeah, good. And when you say in your notes here, we talked about what the things that you wanted, which we'll get to in just a minute, because I think you've accomplished a lot of those actually, which is pretty amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But what was the biggest thing that, if you were to think back and what was your almost breaking point, or you're like, no more, I can't? Because I think what happens is we almost don't realize what our day to day looks like. It's like one more thing and one more thing and then one more thing and then one more thing is added in, and we don't really realize how much we're holding.
Yeah.
Because we don't have that perspective to be able to be objective about it. We're just in it trying to get it done and get through the day and make it happen. So how
Yeah.
are you able to make that shift to go, oh no, something has to move?
I think I don't even remember what the final straw was. But I remember being on the phone with my dad and just saying over and over again, I need help. I need someone to show me how to do this and how to figure this out because I can't take care of myself anymore. Um, yeah, I don't even know what the one moment was. It was probably something small, like something very simple that I could have always taken on. I don't know, just it was so insignificant. The last thing that tipped the scale for me,
Yeah.
unfortunately. Yeah.
Well, I for one am really glad that you made that, you figured out whatever it was that's good. Can you share with us what were the things that you had tried? Because I think most of us have tried other
Sure.
things or tried to shift in different ways, or thought, okay, I'll just I'll take some time off, or I'll go on this 2-week vacation to Bali, or I'll do what other things had you tried and why hadn't they worked?
Yeah. One of my favorite things to try is moving. Um, so I move every couple of years when I start to get overwhelmed or stuck in a job. And I really like it here in San Francisco. So with this particular job, I tried changing my schedule over and over and over again. I changed what days I worked nights. I changed where I was working. I worked out of a co-working facility during the middle of the day. I cut my client load. I reloaded my clients, and no combination made a difference. No amount of taking extra time off made a difference because I kept filling that time with the same things.
Yeah, and what were you filling the time with?
Oh, more work, of course.
So as you were doing those things and trying to find different schedules or different patterns, that wasn't working just because you were filling it back in with work stuff, or what was driving that?
Yeah, that it was this constant need that I needed to be doing more, that I needed to prove either to myself or to everyone around me that I could do all of these things at once, and make it look easy. And uh, so it was me constantly looking for things to take on to fill that need.
Yeah, great. And would you say that has shifted for you now? Is this something that is and when you said earlier that, you sort of got yourself back, can you say a little
Yeah.
bit more about like what that experience is like during the day? What's your lived experience? What's your life like? How's it different?
Yeah, I feel like I have a lot more time just to be, which is really interesting. I find myself craving just sitting still or watching a movie or reading a book, which is very unfamiliar. And now I'm at a place with my work where I'm only doing projects that I really love. We've hired a couple more people and they've taken over and done so well with all of the things that I was just absorbing because I could. So it's nice to only have ownership over the things that I'm really passionate about now. That's been a huge difference. But I'm still working the same amount of time, so I don't feel like technically I'm accomplishing as much, but I'm doing a lot better, and the projects that I am a part of are growing in ways that I wasn't anticipating. So
Yeah, and even though you're working the same amount, how is your energy level? What's that like? Has that shifted for you?
it's been a lot better. Yeah. I also recently tackled moving, so my energy level is a bit off, but that's, I had the space to move and keep up with work, and that's not something I would have had before. So yeah, I feel
We had a
healthier.
little bit of a break.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, good. No, no. I'm not sure why it says internet is a little unstable, but I think we're okay. So you feel
Okay.
healthier now. Say more about that.
I feel healthier. I feel just like I'm able to get better sleep, that I feel like I've got more energy throughout the day. I feel like I'm giving myself permission to make better choices too. I took some time and did a bunch of research, and I'm taking probiotics and vitamins, and I feel loved by me, which is nice. So
Yeah, which sounds crazy. It's like, how do we not love ourselves? And yet, when we actually take a step back and look at the way we are treated as women culturally, and the way, that sort of self-hatred that is kind of underlying and embedded in everything that we see. We're not thin enough, we're
mhm,
not pretty enough, we're not tall enough, we're not whatever enough.
yeah,
Then that just sort of like seeps in the background how we start to compare ourselves and look for ways how we're not enough, right?
yeah,
Not to mention when you come from a lineage of women that are all about serving and all about giving and everybody else is more important, we don't really have the role models that teach us that we have to come first.
sure.
We have to come first
Yeah,
so that we can give back to the people we love in our
exactly.
life. So tell me how that shift has impacted you or what that's given you.
I think the biggest thing for me with my own clients and with the people around me in my life is that I feel like I'm a much better listener now. That the noise of my own life and everything else that I need to do and what I'm not doing and what I'm ignoring, that's quiet. So I'm allowed to be a lot more present with these people and actually focus on them and give them better advice and not give advice too. Just listen and be a support structure for them and whatever that looks like.
And with you making that shift, how has that impacted you? Because it sounds like it's impacted your clients in a really positive way. How's it impacted you?
I feel I don't want this to come across the wrong way. I feel a lot less responsible for a lot of the things that are going on in their lives. That I don't need to find them a new dog walker or help them apply for a new job. I'm there to listen and to be a friend in a lot of these situations and to help them get over their injury. So that has been a lot more rewarding in the work that we're doing together because that's where my focus can be again. So,
That's great. And again, I think because with most of my clients, by the time I find you all, there's a point of like, I know I'm ready to just like give it all up because I can't keep going this way. And my very first words of advice are, listen, we're not going to blow up your life and start all over again. This isn't about walking away from everything you've invested so much in to develop.
exactly.
It's really about how do we do an internal shift in the way that you're approaching things and handling things and what you're taking on emotionally so that you
Yeah,
just have more capacity. And in that
exactly.
way, I think that really impacts your energy level. It impacts your empathy level. It also, and specifically with you, I think it's been great, and with a lot of clients as well. We tend to overextend ourselves and take responsibility for things that aren't ours to carry.
Exactly. Yes.
So in the process, because the tricky part about that is that it seems like a logical thing that you would say, why, this isn't mine to hold, let me put it down. But it's a
Mhm.
very hard transition to go through in order to be able to do that. So can you talk a little bit about how you were able to do that?
in the beginning, it was just telling myself over and over again that that's not why I'm here. That's not what we're doing, that I can still care about this person and not try and fix all of these things. So it was kind of like this daily mantra and this aggravating, terrible, painful work where I felt like I was just letting them down. And why can't I find them a dog walker? I know a dog walker. Um, so it was kind of infuriating in a really positive way. It felt like really important work. But that process that people just sometimes need to talk about things, and being in that sports medicine therapist type role, I'm a ear that a lot of life issues come out to, because I see the same people multiple hours a week, and so they get really comfortable and they share these things, and I can hear them and I can acknowledge them, and then I can let them go, like you're saying. So I can't fix everything for all these people, and that's so empowering. Even just now to say it again feels great.
Yeah, and it's not, I mean, the really important part about it is that it's not that you don't care.
No, not at all.
There literally are some things you cannot do anything about.
Yeah.
And carrying the weight, the emotional weight of the worry and the overwhelm and oh my gosh, and all those things, that is a disservice to you and to your client.
Yeah.
Right. And I think what you're mentioning before about listening is such an important tool, such an important thing. And so many of us, we just don't get listened to very often.
Yeah.
So it's
That's the thing. And sorry. I think I'm getting better at asking questions that just kind of let them keep talking and let them talk it out while we're doing whatever exercise that we're doing. And that is so much more helpful than me telling them what I think they should do. So it's been great.
Very good. Okay. Share with everybody, was there, what I write on here? Was there anything, or the first thing that I asked you to do that you thought was totally crazy or sideways? You were like, what did I sign up for?
Yeah. So one of the first things that we did that I didn't understand how it fit to what we were doing. I kind of did, and I didn't want to do it. But you asked me to walk you through exactly what I wanted my life to look like. And I think that made me just uncomfortable because I didn't have a good answer for you, but I didn't really know exactly what I wanted. And we walked through this whole vision of things. And Kate, I have all those things. And I don't know how that happened so quickly. And I don't know how we identified them. And then I just went out, and I think saying them out loud gave me the courage to go and do them. And that's been the craziest thing.
That's so right. To share with us, what do you have? Because that was on this list too, the picture of what do you want it to look like? And that was so fun too.
Yeah. I think we walked through what I wanted. I wanted, out of the living situation that I was in, I wanted, my work schedule was overwhelming. I wanted a very particular type of house with a yard and a kitchen and this and that. And I had colors in my mind. And I moved a month ago into the closest thing I could find on the rental market to that house. It just kind of appeared. I'm not working Fridays anymore, which has been so much of a game changer. My schedules and my hours haven't changed. There's just an extra day, which has been great. Yeah, that I'm in a partnership that feels really supportive and wonderful. And that wouldn't have been possible without the work that we did, where I realized where I was kind of standing in my own way and the confrontations that I kept running into in my personal life. All of those things just kind of came together. So it's been the most wonderful gift.
So congratulations on all that. And you know that I would say that this isn't just like serendipitously shows up, because we are powerful beings and you are a powerful, powerful woman. And so that concept of actually identifying what it is that we want, sometimes that's all it takes to just say, this is what I want, right? It's like our mind is like a blender, right? There's just so much and it's moving and constantly changing, and oh my gosh, and so much, so our lives are so full. To actually pull a few pieces out and say, this is what I want, and this is what I want, and this is what I want. That it actually, and then looking for those things to show up in your life. And really, did any of your sense of deservedness change?
That's a great question. Yes, it did. Yeah, that I put a lot of pressure on myself to always say yes. And not necessarily, I don't know if I'd ever choose the word deserve, which is interesting. Um, but I give myself permission to say no more often. That, if I'm not, if it doesn't work out with what I need to accomplish, or if it's not something that I can take on, I deserve to continue on with the plan that I'd set. I don't need to take on someone else's request at that point. Um, and in terms of deserving Fridays off, I'm still getting used to that. That feels, I feel like I'm sneaking out on Thursdays, but it's a wonderful thing. And I'm getting more comfortable with knowing that, yes, that I work hard Monday through Thursday so that I can have Friday to take care of my personal life. So.
And I think what's so beautiful about what you're saying, honey, is that it really is a work in progress. This is not just like, great, we're going to work together for a couple of weeks and then that's it and all tied up in a bow and you can go back to what you were doing. It's really about changing your life for a long-term strategy so that you can have everything that you want and more than what you could even desire. And really, we have to do that internal work to shift the energetics of how it feels to be able to receive, to be able to say no, to feel that I don't have to prove anything to you because I know my own value. There's a way that the state and the way that we see ourselves and operate with ourselves, we've got to change that. And once we do that version of you shows up and everything else reorganizes around her. And that's it's such an amazing thing. It's been so fun to watch with you because you really just got in, you did the work, you stayed committed. It's been delightful.
It's been a great thing. And I think one of the things on that note of things that I didn't really understand or didn't really make sense to me at the time was the daily gratitudes. And that has been such a game changer, that it's not necessarily something that I keep up in the same structure, but it's something that's always on my mind at the end of every day. I don't always write them down based on whatever else is going on, but that is just such a wonderful thing. And I wasn't expecting it to have the impact that it did. That just constant positive shift in my mindset from just 3 little things has been amazing.
Yeah. What would you say is the shift? Because I think a lot of people talk about gratitude writing. They talk about this concept of being positive or affirmations or all those. There's many, many tools to use. And it seems like it's, especially where we live, it's a very common thing for people to talk about or say, to have those experiences. What has been the primary shift for you?
I think for me, I tried to make an effort to take things that had not felt good during my day and to refilter those as to why I appreciated or why I was grateful for that experience and what it gave to me or what I wanted to see it as. And that was huge, where I would just kind of stew and frustrate and get mad about these things that went wrong that I had ultimately no control over. So I shifted that, and that was really great, rather than just focusing on things, sometimes gratitude journals, like we were grateful for all these wonderful things that we have that we didn't really have power over, which is still wonderful, but this was a good mind shift for me.
Great. Can you talk a little bit about, are there ways in your life or things you have in your life now that are surprising to you or that you didn't think you were capable of shifting, or you didn't think like your life was capable of being set up in the way that it is? Like, what are the things that have surprised you most?
The biggest thing is the shift in the depth of my personal relationships. The relationships that I have with my coworkers and just who they are as people, the relationship I have with my partner. That's been surprising, that I was, defensive and afraid and just kind of blaming these people for other things and blaming myself then for blaming them. And the work that we did together also included that for me. And I think that's been just the biggest surprise, that I didn't expect. I just didn't know what to expect because I'd been living in the same type of relationship for so long. So to let other people in and to have the faith and trust and understand why things weren't working, why I was blaming other people, that's been huge. I came to you because I was stressed out at work, not for any of that other stuff. So
can you share, now that is not how you're operating, what's been the impact of that?
It's it's building bigger, deeper things with people, which, you know, my life feels so much more complete and full with myself and with these other people in it. Hmm, I don't know. It's something that I'm struggling to put into words actually.
Yeah.
But it's just a very content, supported, loved feeling. Yeah.
Well, I think across the board, what happens is when we can shift the way that we're showing up in our relationships, excuse me, our stress levels decrease tremendously. Our energy level increases tremendously, right? There's just so much more that we are capable of, and so much less of the defensiveness that we have to walk around with in order to guard and to be careful. And how do we know? And all of that stuff that takes up so much of our space. Just our, you know, there's only, if there's 100% of energy, you know, is that's the whole fully charged battery. You know, 40 to 60% of what we're spending a lot of our time on each day is self-created.
Yeah.
Because as you mentioned, your life doesn't really look that different
No, it doesn't.
than when we met, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so the structural pieces are all pretty much the same. And even though most of that is the same, everything is different.
Correct.
And
Yes.
that's really, what is that stemming from?
It's coming from me. I feel like I'm driving now, whereas before I was just along for the ride and I was just saying yes and going for it and hoping that it worked out okay. So this
Yeah.
has been a huge shift.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it has just really genuinely been a privilege and such an honor to be able to work with you. And again, just to watch you as this evolution is happening, this internal revolution. So I guess before I let you go, is there anything else you'd want to share with our members and people who are watching?
Yeah, I think that the biggest thing, and I kind of hinted at this just now, but you never really know what's going to change. You come into this work wanting a specific goal that I wanted to be, you know, more efficient. I picked you out as a business coach and that I was going to get better and be able to do all of these things even faster. And I had no idea where this was going to take me. So that if it feels like that you are ready for some kind of change, you might not know what needs to change, and that's okay. And that's kind of what this work shows you. And that's what's so wonderful about it and the way that it's designed. I'm so grateful for all of it.
Oh, you're very welcome. I think that one of the big pieces that's so helpful is really helping you get clarity.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think so much of the time what happens, how our lives become so stressful and to such a sense of overwhelm, is because we're using somebody else's rules. We're applying somebody else's shoulds on what it is that we're doing every day and trying to keep up with this external measurement. And you know, from day one, we start looking at, okay, those are all true. And what do you want? Who are you underneath all of that? Where is the best version of you where you feel most strong, most connected, most anchored, so that you can make the best decisions? And then we learn to set up those rules and that measure of success so that you can actually feel successful inside of your own skin, under your rules and your application of it.
And nothing else really changes. You know, I'm still doing the exact same job and it's just better. Everything else is just better. So.
Yeah. Yay. Well, thank you again so much for making the time
Absolutely.
today. Wish you the happiest of holidays and a new year. And
thank you.
I'll see you very soon, okay?
Okay.
Okay, thanks everyone.